go and answer Mr. Clara. Anya?
Yeah, hi, Miss Anjana. I'd like to acknowledge the very real, unconceited introduction that you began the session with. Thank you very much for that. I'm afraid I'm going to have to follow up with a set of not so profound questions, mainly addressing my parents' um, certain things they're skeptical about, mainly
Sure.
where we'll be staying, the food, laundry, safety, and all those
Yep.
logistics of student life. So if you don't mind.
Hey, those are super profound questions. There's nothing more profound than material safety and comfort. Right, so let me take that. I think that's also relevant to everybody. Now, we have, for this last year, after COVID allowed us to come back face to face, we've been on a space on lease that has been on Old Mahabalipuram Road in Navalur, for those of you who know the city. For those who don't, it's kind of, I don't know, I guess it's kind of suburbs Chennai, but no longer. Like, it's a very thriving, super busy, it's the IT corridor space. So we've been in a space there, like a whole floor of the building. And then students were staying right across the street, okay, in a hotel, which basically kind of transformed into a hostel for the purposes. It was on a twin sharing basis. Food was obviously included as part of the stay, and there were laundry services. So it was kind of an all-inclusive thing. Okay. Now we have two buildings that will be ready. One building is already ready. The other one is getting put up, and sports facilities that will be ready in the new campus, which is a bit further away. It's an amazing, beautiful 100-acre property, which is one of those things that's going to take time, okay? Because Rome wasn't built in a day, neither will Sai University. And in general, the Roman Empire had a lot of people to order around. Luckily, we don't work with laborers in the same way anymore, though we could do a lot better. But there are delays, okay? There are confusions. There's, all of the stuff that goes with construction, creating stuff. So I want to say that's a thing. However, having said that, these buildings and these facilities are looking to be fully ready by the time you come, okay? Which is in a couple of months. Now, because of that, it makes sense but the hostels that are planned, and actually really the plans of the hostels are beautiful. The hostels are slated to be up by early next year, okay? So between September and early next year, we're having to do a kind of in between, like a transitional hostel space. Now, we've shortlisted, I think, 3 or 4 places. We have Mrs. Tain Marie, who is who's kind of the student residence coordinator, who is just awesome. She is so lovely and amazing, just an amazing human being. So she has been looking at places, as have I. And so we're still very much now kind of looking at the nitty-gritties of the 3 or 4 places that we shortlisted to see what's appropriate, what works. Will an apartment complex kind of space be better? Or actually, will the hotel space be better because it's transitional? Because if, for example, if it's an apartment complex, nobody wants to give it to you for 4 months. He's like, minimum a year. But then the hostels are going to be ready, and obviously it'll be much nicer to be in the hostels. So these are the kinds of transition things that we're dealing with. However, it is entirely confirmed that you will have a fully functioning, fully catered out residence space to live in come September. Okay. Now, I don't have exact details on where, but I can tell you like the 2 or 3 options that we have. There's an apartment space that we've looked at in, what's the nuclear place? Yeah, Sanjeev. Kalpaka.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. There's Padur. There's one place in Padur. There's one place that's kind of halfway between the now campus and the new campus, which is a hotel. So there are 3 places that we're actively looking at and trying to see which is the best fit. Okay. It also obviously depends on numbers. So we're kind of, as we're trying to make the decision, more of you are coming in. So then we're like, oh, hang on a minute. Actually, maybe we need more, a place that would fit in more people. So it is still a negotiation, but there are actual options on the table, which we are examining. What was the other thing? Safety. Yes, there are security personnel, and that's how the hotel worked in the last year. There are assigned security personnel that are fully dedicated 24/7 to being in the residential space, and they will be there at night. Temri ma'am stays on campus with y'all, so she will be available also at all times. I don't stay on campus, but I will always be available for whatever, so, if I need to be present, I will be present. And that's true for all faculty. Right now, because we're still in transition stage, I think somebody asked that question on text. Staff are obviously, you're the priority for residential accommodation. So staff are just doing their own thing. Some of them are staying at hotels themselves. Some of them are in the process of looking for apartments. Some of us are from here already. So there's a mix of that. But ultimately, when the hostels and the staff residences get set up, the intention is for a lot of us to be together on campus, while still respecting those of you who are day scholars, who need to be day scholars. People like me who moved back after 7 years to be closer to my parents because they're getting older and I want to hang out with them as well. So, it'll be a negotiation. Yes, okay. Anya, what were some of there was something else I know. Food, yes, food. So food is, again, like once the hostel is set up, obviously there's going to be, all of it will be set up in the same space. But until then, so obviously if you go to a hotel, then the hotel will be responsible for the catering. And if we do an apartment, then we'll find an independent caterer who does food. Lunch is always taken care of on campus, obviously, because you'll be on campus. That's how it works now also. And then breakfast and dinner will be wherever you're living. Okay, did I get all of them?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ms. Anjana, thank you for that.
Sorry, you were very soft. Can you go again?
Can you hear me well now?
No, you're very faint.
Oh.
Yes.
Better?
Yes.
Better.
Okay. So I think my food-related question was more along the lines of, will it be catering to people who have allergies as well? Because I know I do. And there are certain restrictions that I need to be wary of. So those kind of...
Okay, great question. So I think these are things that are going to fall as part of that building the plane as we go thing, because until now, I don't know, I only joined on the 1st of June. So I am not aware of any requests or requirements that have been made, but absolutely, yes. Okay. We want to be definitely able to cater to a diverse set. Okay. Whether it's food, whether it's disabilities, whatever it is. Okay. That's a really important thing. So if you find, and actually, thank you so much for bringing that. If you find, y'all, that something hasn't been addressed, okay, don't assume that it hasn't been addressed because somebody is being thoughtless and insensitive. It may be because of that, but because we're so new, chances are that it's not that it genuinely hasn't come up. Okay, so you will be that pioneering person who says, yo, this is something you haven't thought of. Okay, that will make our university more inclusive and loving as a community. And then we say, oh my God, we didn't think of that. Come on board. What can we do? Right? So if you have those requirements, please make them. Because this is something that when we were talking about planning the induction event for y'all, like doing stuff in the city and, like just activities and like your senior, they're so excited because, they're like a COVID batch, right? So they didn't get to do all this stuff. And so they were like, oh, we want to do sports stuff and heritage stuff and city stuff and hanging out stuff and all that stuff. And then I was like, you could have a day when you go out and do sport activities. But what if there are people who can't do that? Who don't have access to sports spaces. Now, I know that as a child and a young girl, I had a lot of discrimination because I was big, so I had a lot of fat phobia, a lot of shaming because, I didn't whatever. I wasn't like super into sports. But actually, the reason I wasn't super into sports is because I got teased a lot for being chubby. And so I said, well, what are we going to do to make this really inclusive? Right? What are we going to do for those of us who don't have the confidence, right? Who got teased, who got bullied, right? And so now the students who play sports are like, oh my God, I never thought about that, because my whole life, sports has been my refuge. So I've always turned to sports to save me. I never imagined that somebody might feel excluded from that space. So I'm not saying that this is true every time, but a lot of times it's just we haven't thought about it because it's never been in our experience. Okay. So thank you, Anya, for bringing that up. Yes, I think this is something that we will sit down and talk about, and I will take it back to Tain Marie ma'am, because she coordinates some of this stuff also. And I think what we'll do is we'll create a Google Forms thing, okay, where we, Sanjeev, could you make a note of that, please, if you don't mind?
Sure.
So a Google Forms, like a kind of questionnaire about food, like food preferences, allergies, about health related. If this already exists, that's fine. But also like health related stuff. Is there particular support that's needed? Physical mobility stuff, anything like that. I think it would be great if we do a preliminary check. Does that work for you, Anya? Do you think that'll be useful?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anjana. I just had a few more questions, if you don't mind. Just one. Yeah. Hi, sorry about that. Yeah. Another question I had was regarding the allotment of roommates in the hotel or wherever we're going to be staying. I'm not sure about the others, if they've already jumped on the wagon of, networking and choosing their roommates. But I mean, one of the cons of pros of coming here was to, see if we could, we start that process, and whether there'd be any help regarding, if you could connect people and that kind of stuff.
Sorry, Sanjeev, did you want to answer that?
About the room part, you can of course take over, but actually, Anya, we are planning because the numbers are pouring in now, particularly since post-board exam, we seem to have a rush of applications. So one of the things I have planned is create a joint session between all the students and try to create a WhatsApp group so that, you can start forming your own, networks. And I've done this at a previous university, and it really helps, because once you start feeling like you're part of the cohort, your college life has already started. So I will be doing that. Just bear with me, because I'm the peak of the admission season and torn asunder in different parts. But we will be doing that, probably create an event or a email or what I'll be very open what I plan, because I've done this and it worked. First, we're going to have all of you write in about something about yourself, share it with the others, put in a Google Sheet so that everybody can read something unique about you, your interests, because the only people who know that are the admissions people and the faculty who have read. We want your batchmates to also know that. And once that is done, you're free to form your own group, or I can initiate it and then I'll step out so that you can, roast me or the university in private. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sanjeev. Will it be okay, like you said, initiate the thing of, forming a group with all of us in it, so we could, connect and take it forward from there whenever it's feasible for you to do it, given that you're in the peak of
Absolutely. I will be doing that. It's just that we are waiting for more confirmations. A lot of offer letters have gone out. I have to follow up. And once we get a sizable number, I will initiate that. I'm also planning an open house. I'm finding it a little difficult to get a location. There seems to be every Saturday seems to be an auspicious day or something. So we're trying to find a hotel where I can get an open house where we're going to invite all of you, your parents or grandparents, doesn't matter, your family, whoever you want to bring. And so that way you get to know each other. Oh, yeah. If it's a pet-friendly hotel, absolutely. And that way you get to know each other. And we're bringing in faculty, our VC, all in one place. So it's just going to be an open day of chat, you get to know them. Unfortunately, the date I'm planning, I'm not sure Dr. Anjana will be here, but we can have another session later with her.
My parents were concerned that I was late to this question of asking whether or not everybody has already connected. I mean, they seem
No. I'll tell you what, because of this rather crazy extended board exam season, everything's been late, thanks to this pandemic. And hopefully the next year, it's been a nightmare for us as well. But actually post-board exam, we are thrilled because there's so many students now reaching out to us. So we are not late. You will be very much part of the gang once we initiate it, okay?
Yeah,